Everything starts with H, a quiet 16-year boy who lives every day in the same routine, going to high school and then shopping on the way home, barely paying attention to anything around him and not really caring about socializing with other people, which is why his life feels a little lonely. But that does not bother him much because at home, he already has everything he likes, and ever since he was small, he learned how to take care of himself. So he starts preparing dinner because he really enjoys cooking. And since his parents always praised how good his food was, now he can only enjoy the meal he makes. But just when he finishes preparing his dish and feels like it turned out delicious, he notices the space beside him begin to twist, leaving him confused. And that confusion grows even more when a girl slowly starts coming out from that strange distortion. Our protagonist does not react at first, but a few seconds later, a beautiful young woman is floating right in front of him, and from the shock he drops his plate. But at that exact moment, the girl changes form, becoming smaller and stopping the food from being wasted. Then she devours the entire plate in seconds and says it has been a long time since she tasted something so delicious. H, completely confused, asks who she is, and she introduces herself as Dora, but he does not trust her at all because of her sudden appearance. So he forces her out of his house, even though he still cannot understand what is happening, and even starts thinking it might just be his imagination. But then Dora appears inside again, and he keeps throwing her out again and again, yet none of it works because the little girl keeps coming back. Scared, he asks if she is a ghost, but Dora tells him she is not a ghost. She is a summoned spirit, and since she is still very hungry and needs to gather more energy, she begins pulling all kinds of food toward herself, eating everything in sight until she feels a little more satisfied. H still tries to get rid of her, but after a few minutes he gives up because nothing works. So instead, he gives her something to drink and says he has 3 questions for her: who she is, what she wants in this place, and how he can get rid of her. Dora explains that she is a summoned spirit from millions of years ago, meaning she has existed for a very long time, and the young woman he saw at the beginning was her true form. But keeping that form takes too much spiritual energy, so she prefers this smaller appearance. She also tells him that she did not come by accident. She was summoned, and in this case, he was the one who summoned her with his cooking, because the smell of that dish woke her from her long sleep, so from now on, he has to take responsibility for her. H says nothing more and gets up because he has to go to school like usual, while Dora shouts at him not to abandon her. A few minutes later, H is riding his bicycle on the way to school while feeling very hungry, hoping that by the time he returns home, that strange girl will already be gone. But then he sees her sitting on top of a sign, and terrified, he tries to get away, only for Dora to fly around him and tell him he cannot run from her because she is a goddess. H tries to throw her into the street, but it has no effect, while Dora keeps saying she is a goddess and that she can help fulfill all his wishes, whether he wants to become rich or even control the world. But for that, they need to make a contract. H only tells her he will think about it, but even then, he keeps trying to get rid of her in any way possible. Several hours later, they are in the classroom, where H sees Dora at the window, so he quickly closes the curtains to avoid looking at her, but then she appears on his desk and tells him they only need to sign the contract. H gets so annoyed that he ends up hitting the desk, drawing everyone's attention, even the teachers, who scolds him for interrupting the class like that. H apologizes and sits quietly while the other students laugh at him, but this makes him understand that only he can see Dora, who spends the next few hours bothering him by sitting on the teacher's head the entire time. After a while, H takes advantage of the moment when she falls asleep and leaves the classroom, where a shy girl approaches him and gives him a love letter. H is surprised, but just then Dora pops out of his bag and comments about the letter, making him so angry that he yells at her to go away and stop annoying him. The girl who gave him the letter runs away crying because of those words, while H falls to the floor because he was only talking to Dora, but since nobody else can see her, he can only feel frustrated by everything happening around him. Several hours later, H goes with Dora and gives her a lot of food, telling her that if food was what summoned her, then this same food should send her back to where she came from because he does not want her with him. Hearing this, Dora feels hurt by his words and explains that if a summoned spirit is rejected by its master, it is destined to wander the world like a ghost until it disappears. So she is willing to accept his request, but she changes into her true form and tells him that before leaving, she wants to explain a few things. They begin walking, and she tells him that the world is not only what he sees, because there are many things he does not know. Using her power, she allows H to see people differently, noticing that some of them have marks and different auras. Dora also explains that everyone in the world has the ability to become a summoner, but the problem is that people get carried away by their worries and goals, leaving that power behind and focusing only on their desires, which is why very few people actually gain the power to become summoners, and those who do have great strength among them. Then she takes H's hands and makes him create a huge crystal hand, which easily rips a tree out of the ground, explaining that with this power, he could either destroy the world or save it. After that, she asks what he thinks and whether he wants to become a summoner so they can discover this new world together. H extends his hand and Dora takes it, forming the agreement and linking their souls together. The contract circle activates, and after a burst of power, their souls become connected. This makes Dora excited because she finally succeeded, and now he cannot get rid of her. H tells her that either way he did not really have another escape, while Dora admits that he has a lot of strength in his right arm. And as a reward for accepting her, she grabs onto his back and makes two large crystal wings appear, allowing them to fly across the city. H screams in fear because he is terrified, although deep down he does enjoy the experience a little. But after flying for several minutes, Dora admits that this consumes a lot of her spiritual energy, so she begins to get tired, and both of them start falling, making H even more scared. Several hours later, they are back at the house, where H and Dora finish bandaging their injuries. Dora tells him they should be grateful they are still alive after that fall, which does not make H feel any better. Just then, the electricity goes out and H explains that he did not pay the last bill, so it was normal for this to happen. But Dora tells him not to worry and uses her hand to create a small sphere, which touches the ceiling and lights up the entire place with tiny glowing drops. Dora explains that this is the rain of fireflies, and besides lighting the room, when those drops touch their bodies, they heal their wounds. So while they sleep, they recover quickly. H is amazed by this and asks who she really is and where her power comes from. Dora warns him that explaining that would take a long time, and then she begins remembering scenes from her past, where there is a crystal in the middle of the sea, then a great war where people fought to the death, and finally, herself chained in space. These memories hit her so hard that she loses consciousness, and when H sees her asleep, he decides he will sleep too without noticing that someone is watching from above his house. Many people had seen him flying through the city and taken pictures of him, and there is also news about a tree being ripped out of the ground in a park. This shocks H, and he realizes he needs to be more careful if he wants to avoid being discovered. Dora keeps talking too much, so he chooses to ignore her and puts on his headphones, just as a giant plant appears above Dora and starts swallowing her. The girl screams for help, but H does not hear anything, until Dora manages to hit him with her bottle, making him react. When he sees what is happening, he freezes for a moment, then immediately starts running after the plant, but it is much faster than him. He communicates telepathically with Dora and asks what is going on, since she is supposed to be powerful and can summon a giant claw. But Dora explains that they can only do that when they are close, because when he moves away, her powers grow weaker. H is shocked to learn this because he had no idea, and just when he is about to catch the plant, it blinds him, causing him to fall and lose sight of it as it reaches a festival. Still, that does not stop him, and he starts pushing through the crowd while calling Dora's name. But he cannot move far before a very muscular boy blocks him and angrily says he made a huge mistake by rejecting his sister and making her cry, because she is one of the most skilled students in martial arts. The boy even gives him an example and asks him to reconsider his decision, but H only hears Dora calling him, and her voice is clearly getting weaker. So without wasting any more time, he runs away from there, leaving both the boy and his sister stunned because none of that matters to him right now. H keeps trying to call Dora, but she barely answers, saying that if he does not get close soon, they will lose their telepathic connection. At that exact moment, another boy tells H that he knows what he is searching for because he knows his secret and invites him to join the Superpower Research Society, but H does not pay any attention to him either because he notices his target in the distance, so he apologizes and ends up jumping. H launches himself forward by stepping right off the boy's face, and the furious guy shouts that H will regret this one day. But H has no time to care because he finally reaches his target, only to realize within seconds that it was just a girl disguised as a plant, and now people around him start calling him a creep, which frustrates him badly. But when Dora begins speaking to him again, he manages to hear something in the background, and after focusing carefully, he finally figures out where she is, so he runs straight toward a concert because that music is impossible to mistake. Dora tells him she feels extremely dizzy and is starting to weaken, so H says it is kind of ironic, because when he first met her, all he wanted was to get rid of her, and now he finally has the perfect chance, since if she disappears, he will never have to see her again. Dora instantly gets angry after hearing that and starts beating the plant from inside, giving H her exact location. He gets close enough for Dora to recover all her power and break out, but she is still furious and keeps hitting the plant, while the plant manages to slip away and hide underground. Dora stays angry because she still has not taken her revenge, but H gives her his jacket so she can cover herself because he has already found the one responsible for everything, a girl protecting the plant that attacked Dora, which makes him understand that she must be the summoner, while the plant mocks Dora, making Dora angrily step forward for revenge. The girl looks at H, turns around, and prepares to leave, but Dora refuses to let it end there and jumps in to attack, only for the girl to vanish before the hit lands, leaving behind only a few leaves, which surprises Dora and makes her even angrier because she still could not pay her back. H tells her to calm down because there is nothing else they can do, and Dora asks how he knew that girl was the summoner, so H explains everything. If nobody can see Dora or the plant, then both of them must be spirits, which means the summoner had to be nearby, and since the plant kept moving in circles, the person controlling it had to be close to that area too. He also says that after realizing who the girl was, he chose not to do anything because her earrings and expensive clothes clearly show that she comes from a rich family, maybe even the director's daughter. And if that plant was already that strong from a distance, he does not even want to imagine how powerful that girl is up close. Dora is amazed that he figured all that out, but H laughs and admits it was actually a joke, because when he reached the concert, he simply saw that the girl was the only one acting strange, so he guessed she had something to do with it. Meanwhile, the girl named Han is in the director's office where he tells her they have confirmed what they needed, but now he wants her to test the full limits of H's abilities. Han accepts the request and leaves without another word, while the director wonders how many more surprises H will give him. A few minutes later, H is resting at his desk while Han walks through the academy, catching every student's attention. Everyone is shocked when she enters the classroom, but she simply gives H a letter and walks away, leaving the whole class stunned. His classmates immediately read it and congratulate him because Han asked him to meet her in the forest after school. A few hours later, H walks toward the forest, though he does not like seeing so many classmates following him, and he even notices that his cat is following too, which feels a little strange, but he keeps moving. The other students soon get tangled in several roots and are separated from H, while he reaches a place where there seems to be no path left, but then the trees bend aside and open a route for him. H moves forward and reaches Han, who is calmly checking some black roses. Dora immediately gets angry when she sees the other spirit, who tells them to give up and hand Dora over, but H refuses because Dora is now his familiar and he will protect her. This angers Han, and she throws a rose with heavy force. H manages to dodge it, though he still gets slightly injured, and when he looks back at her, she uses her spirit's help to push him farther away from Dora, while Dora starts searching for her knives. H keeps dodging the root attacks Han sends at him, and after several seconds of running and avoiding them, he asks Dora if she is ready. Dora asks for a little more time, and H watches as Han rises into the air using roots, then attacks him with leaves sharp like blades before summoning a huge tree from beneath the ground. H panics, but then notices the tree is focused on Dora, who is still searching for her knives, and when she sees the tree coming closer, she tries to escape in fear, only to be caught by roots. Just as the tree is about to crush her, H throws himself over Dora to protect her, surprising Han and her spirit. But then, a light bursts from the tree's hand and cuts its palm, because H and Dora, both holding knives, manage to break out, while Dora says those are her super sharp crystal weapons. Han starts attacking again, but H and Dora use the crystal fist and manage to destroy the tree's entire arm. Then, they use the wings to fly upward, and with the crystal boots Dora adds to H, he moves at incredible speed, slicing across the tree's body, cutting through its whole surface, and after gaining enough momentum, he launches himself with full force, completely carving through it and making the giant tree fall defeated to the ground. Dora congratulates H, saying she did not know he knew martial arts like that, but H says he simply followed the feeling of using a knife and sliced it like a vegetable. Han touches her tree and makes it disappear, while H manages to move ahead of Dora and block her next attack, telling her they should not take anyone's life. Then it becomes clear that Han has only been fighting with 30% of her strength because she has just summoned several more trees, which leaves Dora shocked, while Granal only laughs and admits that H passed the test, but Dora did not. Han's attitude instantly changes, becoming friendlier, and she says they should eat something because H makes really good food, though the other spirit strongly disagrees, until Han's stomach growls and she finally accepts. Hours later, everyone is enjoying the food together. The two spirits love the meal and treat each other kindly. Han also enjoys the food, and H asks why all of this happened. Gren Ballet explains that they had to make sure H and Dora were not dangerous, because some summoners only want to do evil, and there are also evil spirits. So, as guardians of the city, it is their duty to make sure they are not a problem. Since H and Dora passed the test, they could even join them, though Han does not seem fully happy about that and gets up from the table. H follows her to the entrance of the house, where she tells him that good food might save the world. Then she gives him a black rose and says she will be watching his spirit. After that, she turns around and leaves. But unlike Dora, H knows this was not a love confession, because a black rose means, "You are my servant and you belong to me." The next day, a girl remembers the time her home was burning in the middle of a forest, where she begged her brother to come back, but he was swallowed by darkness and turned into crows before disappearing from her sight. That memory wakes her up, and afterward, several cats surround her as she approaches the edge of a building and jumps off with total confidence and a wide smile. A few minutes later, while H is in class, he notices a giraffe peeking through the window, followed by several animals entering the classroom and causing panic everywhere. H quickly escapes with Dora and sees that the hallways are already full of wild animals running everywhere, and even at the school entrance there is a panda bear. He manages to get outside, and on the street he sees all kinds of wild animals, from lions and tigers to elephants, which feels extremely strange. The news then reports that the zoo animals have escaped and are causing chaos across the city, telling everyone who can move to head toward the evacuation area. H tries to do that, but Dora tells him that as a summoner, he has to help the city. Just then, H notices a girl passing near him, Mao, who quietly says that everyone will pay for what they did. H immediately runs toward her when he sees a huge herd of animals charging behind her, managing to pull her away from the stampede. Then he scolds her and tells her she should pay more attention because those animals could have hurt her. Mao gets up in anger and snaps that she does not need his help and that humans are the ones responsible for everything. Then she walks toward the animals. Dora explains to H that Mao is not a normal girl either. She is also a summoner. At the same time, Han and her spirit are already standing on top of a building, and both of them understand that they need to stop the stampede, so they jump into action, using smoke plants to avoid being seen. After that, Han uses her ability to summon roots that restrain all the animals, while Mao manages to avoid being caught, but she cannot do much against them and starts begging. Mao begs Han not to hurt the animals, but Granal tells her to surrender and hand over her spirit. She refuses, insisting that humans are the real ones at fault because the animals lived there long before, and humans were the ones who dragged them away from their homes. So if anyone should be locked up, it should be the humans. In less than a second, she appears behind Han, who quickly defends herself and notices that Mao now has animal claws. And with that, the fight between the two begins. Dora asks H whose side they should take, but H tells her that for now, they should only watch what happens. Meanwhile, Mao tries to attack, but Han is much faster with her plants and roots, managing to restrain her and even throw her against a building. This makes Mao furious, and she charges at her again, but this time she uses eagle eyes to focus better on dodging, then adds leopard speed and starts moving so fast that Han can no longer see where she is. Mao leaps above her and summons the strength of a bear, but Han dodges and, with help from her spirit, blocks several attacks. With no other choice, she summons her tree to face the bear directly, and both begin to clash. But H can tell they are not equal because Han uses her spirit to strengthen the tree, letting it strike the bear again and again until it shatters into several spiritual fragments. However, to everyone's surprise, that is not the end, because every fragment turns into a wolf, and the wolves start surrounding the tree before attacking together, scratching it and causing serious damage, which Han feels on her own body as wounds begin to appear on her. In response, the tree quickly grows huge thorns to push the wolves away, then spins and destroys them as they crash into it. H then notices that the cat from before is now there too, badly injured, but from the wolf fragments, a huge snake forms, wrapping itself around the tree and starting to break its arms while biting into it. Han feels all of that damage and prepares a powerful strike to finish the battle, while the snake is ready to do the same. And H realizes that if they keep fighting like this, both Han and the cat will die. So he quickly grabs Dora and jumps straight between them, using her help to create chains that restrain both the tree and the snake, telling both sides to stop fighting and stop throwing away their lives. At that moment, the snake transforms back, revealing the girl's form, while H says he has already found the real summoner and takes the cat into his arms. Han and her spirit do not understand, so H explains that because they were too focused on fighting, they missed the most obvious thing. The true summoner was not the girl, but the cat. He starts healing the cat's wounds, and Mao simply stares at him because it reminds her of the first time they met, when she had been injured in the middle of the road and H found her there. Back then, he picked her up and began treating her infected wounds. She hated it so much that she even bit him because of the pain, but after a few seconds, she felt much better and stayed by his side, looking at him with emotion because she had never felt that much care before. Dora tells Han and her plant that H solved the problem and stopped the summoner, so they no longer need to stay there, but Granal says it is not that simple and that they must hand over the summoner. H refuses because they are badly hurt, so Mao will stay with him at least until she fully recovers, and once she gets better, he will think about what to do next. Greenal gets angry, but Dora raises her knives as a warning, making it clear she does not want anyone weakened to be hurt anymore, so Han tells her spirit that they should leave, though she warns H that he will regret siding with the wrong team and making her his enemy. Hours later, H is back at home, where the little cat sleeps in his arms, while Mao explains that animals can also become summoners, and several of them have actually managed to do it. She also came to this city searching for her brother, and she tells him a little about what happened, saying her brother is also a spirit, but since she has not found him and it seems like he is hiding from her, she caused that disaster to get his attention and make him realize she was looking for him. H tells her they should change the subject and instead invites everyone to eat. While high in the sky, Mao's brother learns about everything that happened. The next day, while Mao and Dora are playing, someone knocks on the door. H opens it and sees several guards who say they have an invitation for him to come with them to Han's house. H tries to refuse, but the guards show their weapons as a sign that he has no choice, and seconds later, they forcibly take him away in a helicopter to the mansion, where Han and Granal receive them. Though there is still clear tension between everyone, Han tells them to follow her, and H does, but he becomes amazed by all the servants in the place, because everything in that mansion runs on spiritual energy, from the gardener to the chef, and all of them are spirits of different elements, making H wonder how many summoners could be in that mansion. Granal tells them there is only one, and Han says they will meet him soon. They enter the mansion where a huge statue stands in the middle of the hall. Granal explains that it represents the first leader of the Watchers, and H keeps staring at it for a moment. Just as H plans to keep moving, he hears someone calling him, so he turns around, but he does not recognize the voice, and the moment he looks back at the statue, his vision suddenly changes, throwing him into the middle of a wide meadow where a golden-haired woman sits beneath a tree and calls out to him. Before he can move closer, Dora pulls him back to reality. H quickly apologizes and says he was just thinking about something else, then continues walking, but he cannot stop wondering what he just saw. A few seconds later, they reach the entrance of the dining room, where Harlan is already waiting and greets them kindly while apologizing for not receiving them properly. Granal starts praising him, saying he is the leader of the Black Rose and a successful businessman, but Harlan tells them not to pay attention to that, while Dora quietly whispers to H that he looks like a normal man. Harlan then tells everyone to sit, and with only one movement of his hand, he forces them all into their seats. This shocks H because of the powerful aura coming from that man. Harlan begins talking about spirits, explaining that, according to legend, all spirits come from either a crystal or a god, but because summoners wanted to obtain that crystal, they caused wars that lasted for many years. Since ancient times, summoners have been split into two groups: those who use the power of nature and allow its balance to guide the world, known as the Watchers, and those who use any power by any method to reach their goals, even if they have to invade places or take lives, known as the Destroyers. Now H and the others must decide which side they will stand with. H tells him this is not something he will play around with, but one thing he is sure about is that he will follow his parents' advice because they always told him to stay away from the mafia. Harlan says that is incredible, especially knowing that H's parents disappeared when he was 5 years old and no one ever found out what happened to them, forcing H to live in foster homes until he was old enough to live alone. He adds that H is an unusually impressive boy, someone promising who works 2 jobs to support himself, and he even knows that H's hair is naturally blonde, but he dyes it because it reminds him too much of his parents. Everyone is shocked to hear this, but Harlan continues and tells Mao that he also knows about her brother and that he is part of the Destroyers. The only one he knows less about is Dora, but they should not think any of this is coincidence, because H must understand that everything is connected, and his parents had something to do with the fact that he was able to awaken a spirit using only ramen. Han tells her grandfather that this is too much for them and that all this information is overwhelming them, so Harlan apologizes, understanding that H still has a lot to process, and suggests that they stay at the Black Rose Mansion for a few days so they can learn more about their past and their destiny. He also says H does not need to worry about school because he would still be with the academy director. Then he has dinner served so everyone can enjoy a good meal, while telling Dora that he would like to know more about her because she does not seem to have one specific element. After a few minutes, Harlan senses something strange coming from outside and turns around just as an object falls from the sky and smashes through the roof, while the director receives it with a powerful punch. After the explosion, everyone looks at the thing that fell in front of them, and Harlan calls it one of the Destroyers, though he is surprised they attacked so suddenly. Still, he says he had already expected something like this because he noticed something strange with the changing moon and the crows flying around, so he was prepared. Their strategy has clearly changed, but he will not be defeated by the Destroyers, and he will defeat them all just like he did in the last war. He launches a flaming punch, dodges a strike, switches to ice, freezes parts of the Destroyer's body, then hits it with a powerful lightning-charged blow that throws it several meters away. This makes the Destroyer furious, and it releases a huge wave of power that destroys a large part of the mansion. Harlan, now seriously angry, tells everyone that this place is no longer safe and they must leave. He asks Han to promise she will protect H, and she agrees, then tells H that they would only get in her grandfather's way. At that moment, a massive explosion throws them out of the mansion. Han manages to stop them from getting hurt when they land, but when she looks back at the rest of the mansion, she sees only destruction and fire, with several spirits badly injured, and she warns them to run away from this place. Just then, a woman appears above them, and, with several fast shots, starts eliminating the spirits one after another, making all of them disappear. Han becomes furious after seeing what she has done and tries to attack, but the woman is far more agile, and her weapons nearly hit her. H says he will help, but the blast from some grenades blinds him for a few seconds, and when he manages to stand again, he sees Han struggling badly against that woman. He also notices Mao frozen in place, staring at someone approaching the guards, her brother, who wipes out several spirits with a single movement. When he faces the fire chef, he simply transforms into several crows, surrounds him, strikes his core, and makes him disappear with ease. Mao reaches him and transforms into her human form, but she immediately feels something is wrong because this man's eyes are different from her brother's. The destroyer points at her and fires an attack straight into Mao's head, leaving a hole there and scattering her energy, while Mao collapses unconscious. H instantly rushes forward to help his friend, and using Dora's power, he creates a blade to attack. But right before it hits, he suddenly finds himself back in that meadow, now looking like a little child. This confuses him even more, especially when he feels his mother hugging him, causing him to break down crying. Then, within seconds, everything changes into a completely ruined landscape, and the person hugging him is now a skeletal figure. Meanwhile, Dora is crying desperately, trying everything she can to make her master react, but nothing works. At the same time, Harlan continues fighting with all his strength, landing heavy blows on the destroyer in the air, keeping him completely trapped while ordering him to call his leader because he wants. Han realizes her grandfather is winning, so she knows she has to buy him more time and summons her tree to crush Flame. But the girl simply dodges it and mocks her, telling her she should watch her back better, and in that instant the tree is swallowed by a shadow, causing Han to receive multiple wounds across her body, while Shadow rises from the ground and grabs her by the neck with a sword, telling her she will sink into the darkness before cutting her neck with one swift slash. Grenal screams in fear for his master when he sees this, and Harlan hears the scream, instantly understanding that something has happened to his granddaughter. So he fires a healing beam right away, stopping the bleeding and closing the wound, but his opponent uses that opening to attack him. Even so, Harlan slams him into a wall with ice magic, though it costs him a lot of strength. And then Chrome, Mao's brother, arrives and lands a hit on his body, while Flame launches herself toward him, says goodbye, and shoots him right in the forehead. In that moment, Harlan remembers Han when she was little, and instead of dying, he releases all of his spiritual power, sending a huge blast into the sky as his body shines and creates a massive spirit above him that keeps changing elements. The destroyers do not know what to do, and when Chrome tries to attack Harlan, now completely furious, sends out a fire blast that burns through everything in its path. The impact is so huge that it destroys several kilometers around them, though the destroyer survives by transforming into his crow form. At that moment, the leader of the destroyers appears, and it is her who summons his spirit, a Grim Reaper, and uses its guillotine to stop a powerful attack Harlan had launched at him. This excites her because the moment he has been waiting for has finally arrived, and using his spirit, he begins absorbing Harlan's spiritual power, weakening him greatly before sending the Reaper forward to consume every last drop of Harlan's energy, leaving him dead. Her feels satisfied because he has finally achieved his goal of killing his rival. The others ask what he will do with the remaining summoners, but Her says they should leave them alive because they will be useful later, and then they disappear inside a golden circle, leaving even more destruction behind. The next day, H is at his house, where Grenal continues healing his master while Dora is still furious because the destroyers caused all of that and they could do absolutely nothing. So she tells H they should go take revenge, but Mao asks if they even can. H agrees with her and says they know nothing about who attacked them, and even if they found them, they would not be able to do anything because the difference in power is far too big. This irritates Dora because she thinks they should show more interest, but H tells them he found something. While searching online, besides the news about what happened, he found a video uploaded by someone showing the fight between Harlan and the destroyer. That alone is strange, but the person who uploaded it has a profile where he talks a lot about summoners and has even made a comic about them. And if he was watching Harlan from a satellite, that means he might be their only source of information that can help them against the destroyers. Because of that, H says they should go meet him. Everyone is shocked that H discovered all of this, but they do not know how to find the person. So H says that part is easy because his name is Stan, and he is coming to the city for a comic signing, meaning they can talk to him there. A few hours later, H says goodbye to Grenal, and in his mind he thinks that Han has always acted aggressively, but he promises he will find the people responsible responsible for leaving her like this and will take revenge for everything that happened. Later, Stan arrives in the city, and although the train was not supposed to stop because of a malfunction, he hacks it with his phone and makes it stop at a station. Then he gets out, and while walking calmly, he hacks a vending machine to give him a drink, changes the escalators so they move in the opposite direction, and even alters nearby signs to advertise him. After setting everything up, he begins his comic signing. H is watching everything with Mao and Rose, saying they should approach him first without being recognized and try to convince him to give them information. But if that fails, they will have to attack him. A minute later, Stan gets annoyed because he has not sold anything since arriving, and just then H appears wearing glasses and a mask to hide his identity. He reads one of Stan's comics and praises how good the writing is, which instantly excites Stan, and H says he will buy all of his comics as a collection, filling Stan with happiness. As a reward for helping him, Stan asks what H needs from him while calling him by his real name, and he also points toward Dora and Mal because he already knows where they are. He admits he understands what is happening and says it would be better to talk live, but Dora steps forward and starts asking him basic questions, which Stan answers without any problem. Then H asks what his special ability is, and Stan simply says it is technology, which disappoints everyone a little because they expected something stronger, but Stan tells them they have no idea how much information he can get, including nuclear weapon codes or even facts like Steve Jobs being a summoner. What will really surprise them, though, is that the previous night they were not attacked by 5 summoners like they thought, but 7 in total. This leaves the group stunned, and Dora takes Stan's phone to check his information. Stan starts explaining how to control different cameras and says his phone even has an electromagnetic pulse that detects presences within 300 meters, warning them if there is any threat or danger. Right then, the alarm activates and they dodge several fire rays, leaving everyone confused and unsure what is happening. But the phone warns them of a high-level danger, and Stan says there is only one thing they can do now: run. H and the others follow him, saying they cannot leave him alone because he is too important, while they dodge different attacks, and Dora asks who is chasing them. Stan says he has no idea because the Russian mafia and the CIA are both after him, so it could be literally anyone. When they look back, they notice giant robots chasing him, so Stan says he has no choice and activates something on his phone, telling them to jump over the railing. H does not understand why, but Stan forces him to do it, and they fall into an empty luxury car, which speeds away at high velocity and leaves the robots behind.